Okay, today I want to talk about the beginner rider ego trap. This is highly related to the Dunning-Kruger effect. If you guys know what that is, you're going to have a good idea of what I'm going to talk about today. But I wanted to start with a personal example, one that you may not know. So I started riding about 10 years ago this year, and I started on a little Yamaha R3. It was a really sweet little ride. Exactly what I needed at the time, a perfect little beginner sport bike. I was a Yamaha R bike lover, and what might be a bit of a surprise to you, given how much I champion taking your time and doing things the right way, etc., etc. I rode that bike for about 6 months. I put about 10,000 miles on it, and then I decided, you know what, it's time for 128 horsepower super sport, and I bought my very first Daytona 675 in 2015. That, in retrospect, is not a good idea. It definitely reeks a little bit of ego. I had never even done a track day on the R3. I had never even done any sort of meaningful twisty road riding on the R3. Oh, thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. And again, it just reeks of ego. So what happened after that is I rode pretty okay. I was a bit scared of the machine. It had a lot of horsepower, and I'd never had access to roads like this. At the time, I lived in Dallas, Texas, and if you guys know anything about DFW, it is a flat wasteland, concrete, no twisty roads, basically. And so whenever you're just riding on the highway and stuff, sure, 128 horsepower, it doesn't seem that bad. You just twist the throttle open. There's literally no skill required, right? And so when I first came out here to Austin, my first trip out here with the Daytona was in early 2016, if memory serves me correctly. I was invited to do like a YouTube thing, and that was pretty interesting. But anyways, I rode on Lime Creek Road, one of my favorite roads here in Austin, and that was my first time on a real twisty road on the Daytona. And I kind of had this sinking feeling in my gut, like, ooh, I'm a little out of my element here, like I probably should go and get good. And so I actually decided to go and do my first track day in 2016, and then I was like, man, this road riding stuff is really kind of a bummer. And then I wasn't able to go out to the track very much, and my ego started getting the better of me. And so in early 2017, I got to go out to the track a few more times. At this point, maybe like 2 or 3 times total. And that's when I had a really, really big accident, because I was riding with ego, riding with way too much overconfidence. And so that's what this video is about today. I want to talk about that pivotal moment, this moment in your early riding career where you think you know everything, you think you got it all figured out. That's when the biggest accidents happen. That's when my biggest accident happened, and that's when I had to really take a step back and reevaluate how I was riding, and I really had to rebuild myself after that point. I spent 18 months in physical therapy, rehabilitative surgery. I was in the hospital for 3 months. Super nasty stuff. I have life-altering injury, man. I got nerve damage in my right hand. It still lets me ride, but I got super lucky to not get killed in my wreck. Got super, super, super lucky. God wanted me to make more dank memes on the internet. Something like that, right? So let's talk a little bit about that trap. So what happens is when you first start out riding, you have unconscious incompetence. That is where you don't know anything. You don't know anything. You don't know how to ask the right questions. You don't know what to know, right? You literally have no idea how to do anything. Think of this as the rider who goes to the MSF course and is like, I'm going to learn how to ride. They don't know anything about motorcycling. They don't know where the brakes are. They don't know where the clutch are, right? Nothing. A few months will pass, and then all of a sudden, you have conscious incompetence, right? And that is the most dangerous spot. That's where you're aware of your deficiencies, you're trying to fix them, but you actually don't know a whole lot, and you're way overconfident because you've mastered those initial steps. And this is where a lot of beginner riders make bad choices, right? This can be riding poorly, right? That's usually the bad choice we talk about here on the channel. We're like, oh, like you chose to do like 100 miles an hour in a mixed use development, and you slammed into a car. Or you were going 80 miles an hour through an intersection and somebody turned left because they didn't expect you to be going twice the speed limit, and you're like, they turned left on me, bro, what could I do? And it's like, maybe if you just rode like a normal human being, this wouldn't happen, right? But there's also the thing that I did, right? Where it's like I upgraded my motorcycle after riding for like 6 months and 12,000 miles on my beginner bike when I hadn't done a track day, when I hadn't done twisty roads. I had not meaningfully explored what the R3 could do before I decided, hey man, I need triple the horsepower, baby. That's gonna solve all my problems. That's gonna get me girls. That's gonna get me money. That's gonna fix all my issues that I had when I was 22 years old. Surely riding a fast motorcycle will cure chronic insecurity, right? Male loneliness epidemic. All that stuff can be solved with a faster motorcycle. And these bad decisions can keep happening where, you know, someone upgrades to a 600 when they weren't supposed to, and then they upgrade to a leader bike when they weren't supposed to, and it kind of compounds, right? And then they have a really nasty accident. They're like, I don't understand. I was riding for 2 years. I thought I knew everything. And it's like, no, you didn't respect the ladder. You didn't understand, right? So that's conscious incompetence. After that stage, where hopefully you have a couple of mess ups that aren't a big deal, you achieve conscious competence. This is a nice phase to be in. This is where you're learning stuff, you're adapting, you're taking the stuff you're learning and improving what you're doing, and you're still aware of things. Like, you understand that you're not the greatest rider in the world, you're not the next Valentino Rossi, you're not the next Marc Marquez, and you're like, okay, let me learn, let me get better, let me get good. And it's really one of the best times to be a motorcyclist, is where you're taking advanced rider courses, you're doing track days, you know, you're maybe stepping down in the power displacement, you're getting a second motorcycle that does something kind of different and interesting. You got a supermoto, a dirt bike, you know what I mean? Like, that's a really nice phase of growth. And then after that comes the holy grail. It's unconscious competence. This is the best phase, and this is the phase I often catch myself in as I'm doing these vlogs and doing these things. This is where you build that sixth sense. This is where all the skills and the time and energy and effort you put in, they happen naturally. They happen unconsciously, without you thinking, without you putting forth any effort. You know, you're able to ride behind a truck and understand that you have to float the front brake. You're able to trail into corners without thinking about it. You can feel grip from your tires in a much more sophisticated way. You can understand the limit of a motorcycle in a much better way, or at least your personal limit with it too, as you lean the bike in, as you do things with it, right? And that's the holy grail. Unconscious competence is the best. But, you know, I personally think that the best riders drift between conscious competence and unconscious competence, because unconscious competence can also lead you to just like get stuck in your ways and have habits, to where if you drift back to focusing on your craft and focusing on practicing, you'll find new ways of being. You'll find new ways of understanding how to ride your motorcycle, right? You'll go back to a fundamental skill and be like, oh, I didn't know how to do that, you know? I'm kind of doing that, the Honda Grom and the wheelies and all that, right? Just as a small example. But you may go back to a track day and be like, oh, let me really think about my braking today. Like, what can I do with my braking that's going to be better than I did before? Where can I find time? What can I do? Maybe on a big long road trip, you're like, hey, like, what if I, you know, just really paid attention a little better to my surroundings and all that? What if I rode without listening to music in my cardo today? So again, drifting back and forth between that is really the sweet spot. But that's really the trap that I see a lot of beginner riders finding themselves in. I've seen a trend both on my Discord and through some questions I've been asked on the Q&As, where people say, oh, I just crashed my SV650. I want to get an R1 or an S1000. Which one should I get? And I'm like, dude, what the f are we what are we talking about? You're going to go get a 200 horsepower leader bike after crashing your SV650. Go get another SV650 if you liked it. There's no reason to upgrade if you crashed. And that was something I pat myself on the back, is that when I did crash my Daytona many years ago, it's been 8 years now, if you guys can believe it, I didn't go back and I was like, oh, let me get a leader bike now. It's like, no, dude, like, just take your time, get the bike that makes sense. I got another Daytona for the track because I loved it so much, but for my street bike, I got a Scrambler. And it's been 6 years that I've had that Scrambler, and that's just my street bike, and now I got the Touareg. I've never really owned anything that makes more than 100 horsepower for the street, personally, because I was like, what's the point, you know? I'm very fortunate I get to sample a lot of high horsepower stuff here on the channel, but yeah, that was always the thing. I was like, why would you upgrade after crashing? I mean, fundamentally, it comes down to a mindset thing with this. I talked about this earlier on a vlog this week, where like beginner rider mindset and all that, like, bad decision making on a motorcycle is all down to your philosophy and mindset when riding. You can avoid 95% of bad decisions if you simply have the correct mindset when you're on my bike, where the only goal as a beginner rider is I don't want to crash and I want to make it to wherever I'm trying to make it to. That's really it. There's no goal to be the fastest on your local twisty road. There's really no goal to be able to, you know, do the craziest stuff while you're out riding, you know. But boys, if you made it this far into the video, I did want to point out today is the penultimate day to get entered to win this here Yamaha MT-07. This is our giveaway bike, the first one for this riding season. This one ends tomorrow, so make sure you remember on YamiNoob.co, we don't advertise these giveaways on Facebook, Google, Instagram, TikTok. We literally do no paid marketing. So if you're watching this video, you are one of the few in the audience that actually see these giveaways. So we actually have great odds to win. So head over to YamiNoob.co, become a member. You'll earn your entries and you can assign them to all future giveaways. The next bike we're giving away is a Honda CBR 650R with the E-clutch. That one's gonna be super cool. And then later in the summer, we're doing Panigales, the new CF Moto 675, the R9. There's a bunch of really cool bikes we're doing this year. So head over to the website, check it out. Don't miss your chance to win. But boys, I think I'll wrap this one up for today. Quick and simple, talking about that framework of conscious competence, unconscious incompetence, unconsciously competent, right? Like the different layers of it. It's a great framework. It's a really nice way to think about it. Remember, approach riding with the right mindset. We got a lot of new riders coming into the sport this year, and I just want to see people on more bikes. I want to see people on bikes, enjoying themselves, doing it the right way, thinking about it the right way, and hopefully becoming lifelong motorcyclists and having a 10-year-long riding career as I've had. It's a pretty sweet thing. It's an amazing thing. It's a great thing for your mental health to get out there and ride. And I hope you guys go out there and do it, man. All that being said, thanks so much for checking out today's video. I truly do appreciate it. We'll catch you in the next one. See you later.
You've made it to the end of another YamiNoob video. Aren't you just a special little cookie? Aren't you just something so great? Aren't you just, look at you, you're just so freaking cute. Why don't you go ahead and click on the next video? Why don't you go ahead, listen, hey, I'm just kidding around. Hey, listen to me. Click on the video.